Lovely people, I'm Dr. J, founder of Junie Counseling. Welcome to my channel. Last time we met, we talked about the high 5 tasks. Now, these are high 5 tasks that I usually encourage all my students to tackle as they prepare for the college planning, university researching process. And these tasks are your CV draft, standardized tests, university shortlist, personal statement or college essays or letter of motivation, and the letters of recommendation. Okay. Now today we're going to take a closer look at the CV. How do you draft a CV that makes you stand out? How do you draft one that highlights your strengths and accomplishments? Now, depending on your cultural background or your personality, sometimes this task can be a little more difficult for some, right? Some of us don't like to talk about ourselves or highlight what we're good at, but you too can find a way to showcase your interests and strengths in a way that's authentic and honest. So what does a strong CV include? It's usually one page. You're in high school, you probably don't have a ton of work experience. So, any work experience, volunteer work, activities in school, sports, athletics, music, all of this is really good to include on your CV. You want it to be clear, easy to read. There are lots of free templates out there from Google to Canva. You can even create your own, all right? But remember, the reader, whether they're working for admissions or whether this is actually a job you're applying for, they're sifting through a ton of CVs. So you want to make sure that the template that you do use is clear, all right? No, I would avoid too many frills, fancy fonts that can be a bit distracting. Now, as you list your activities, remember that this is a CV, an at-a-glance document, so that the reader can get a sense of who you are and what you've accomplished. So please avoid the mistake. It's a common mistake amongst my students. They'll list a position that they've held and they start to describe what they did in a narrative form. All right, so this is not an essay. It's not how you might answer a short answer question. Okay, so your CV needs to list exactly what you did, position held. Maybe you worked at a cafe down the road in your neighborhood and you've done that now for 3 months. You can pinpoint through bullet points what you did. Start with strong action verbs. 3 or 4 bullet points will do, so that the reader can get a sense of what your responsibilities were and maybe some of the attributes that you've learned along the way. As you start drafting that CV, be aware that you avoid filling it with fluff as well. Sometimes students feel like they don't have enough to share, so they start just adding things that they think might be interesting. Like maybe they tried a club or an activity for a week, but then dropped it. You probably don't need to include that, okay? These admissions readers like to see themes. If you played a musical instrument for several years, or maybe you volunteer for a church group consistently over the years, they love to see that. They love to see consistency and passion. That is factual in itself if you actually volunteered your time over the years, but it also demonstrates a certain interest, something that you actually care about, okay? Now, once you have a draft, it's always a great idea to get a fresh set of eyes to get someone else's perspective. So you can share your draft with your school counselor, perhaps, or your English teacher, or someone who knows you well. It could be a friend, a parent, it could be me. You're welcome to ask questions, of course, on the channel. I'm happy to help and answer them along the way as we journey through this together. But if you haven't even started your CV draft yet, you're a little bit nervous, or you're just not sure where to start, remember that the hardest part is to start. So what's holding you back with starting today? Right? You can get a blank sheet of paper, start with your name and your contact information, and then you can go from there. You've got this, okay? Next time, we will talk about the next high five task, which is standardized tests. Now, I know that the idea of researching, registering for, and preparing for a high-stakes exam probably doesn't sound like a holiday. It will be okay, trust me. Let's meet where you are and see where you'll go. Until next time.